Hey lovely freaks, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host Amanda.
And I'm Hannah.
And if you're new here, hi, welcome. If you like things strange and unusual and true crime, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button. You can also head on down to the description box and you'll see a link that will take you to our link tree where you can find our social media, like Instagram, Facebook, and all that jazz.
And all that jazz.
Yeah, so we're not on video.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're not going to tell you guys when we're going to be on video because every time we try to do something, it fucks up. So we're just going to do it when we do it. When you see us on video on YouTube, you'll be like, look at that.
Yeah. Because something happened with the
I don't know what was going on. There was a delay with our voice.
We tried. We
with
did
the video.
try.
Yeah.
I have full face of makeup on. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. We were set up, lights and camera.
Action.
There
and
was
then
no action. But anyways, so, we decided to do this one. And you know what? If we can't get on video on YouTube, maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Maybe God's like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a sign.
You're not going to enjoy it.
God's like, they're going to bully you. Stop.
Yeah. Because we lay in our bed on our bellies and do this podcast. So maybe he's like, nah, you're not going to enjoy it. Don't push it. So anyways, maybe we'll have that next week for you guys. Let's talk about real quick, Brian Laundrie and that fiasco. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going out there about Brian Laundrie and like,
Have we done this?
Huh?
The Conjuring 2, sorry. Have we done this?
No.
Oh, I just listened to too many podcasts.
We did the first one.
Yeah. Okay. I listened to too many podcasts and I get them mixed up. Okay. Go ahead. Laundry.
You skipped past Laundrie.
Yes.
So anyways, Brian Laundrie, everybody knows, if you don't know by now, he has been found dead.
Yep.
His bones were found. They identified him by his dental records. I believe they said that they had a head. They have his head. Because some people were like, oh, maybe he just threw his teeth out there and then took off. I'm like, yeah, because that's how the FBI does shit.
Yeah.
Lazily. Like, oh, yeah, these look like they match. What the fuck? Anyways.
Especially with this case, because this case is huge.
Sorry, I'm trying not to
Sneeze. Excuse me. I just did it.
No, I'm trying not to curse as much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to tone that down. Okay. So anyways, but yeah, there's just still a bunch of conspiracy theories around there. Now, I will say it is really weird how his parents, like, went to the reserve on the first day that it opened back up to the public. They were like, yeah, we'll come help you guys. And then they go. And they weren't followed by the police. Like, if you see, like, video of them, they're just, like, off doing their own thing in the woods by themselves. It's just really odd to me. I don't get that whole scenario. One person I will say, on TikTok, of course, there was someone that was like, well, maybe, this is just their theory. They were like, maybe they got offered, like, a deal in order to give up the body. Maybe they've known where he was, or maybe they knew that he had died, or something like that.
But it's just weird. Like, how was his body? How was his body?
They found bones. I'm not quite sure. I know that I've read somewhere that they found a skull and maybe another part of his body, like a leg or something. But this part was underwater.
Okay.
And I know what you're probably thinking, because you've probably seen it on TikTok. People have been like, how can a body decay that quickly, especially in water? Well, there's already been medical examiners that have come on and said that on TikTok and stuff like that. And they've said, yes, this can very much happen. And they showed articles of, like, one article, it was in a medical journal, this girl in Mississippi that had decayed within, like, a week. And she was in, like, moist conditions, hot, lots of animals, lots of bugs, and you got to think he's in a reserve. I mean, he's in the water. He's with alligators. He's with bugs.
Is his body decapitated apart?
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing. I'm just speculating at this point, but they
Does
haven't
it seem like
come out
a suicide
completely.
or no?
They haven't said anything.
Okay. Because this case is
It could have been a suicide, and he could have been eaten up by some of his body eaten by an alligator. There's tons of alligators out there. This is in Florida. I mean, this is in, like,
I feel like this case is going to be unsolved.
The swampy areas. So, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, Gabby's is unsolved for sure. I mean, we don't have a clue what happened, and we won't ever know. All we can know is that she was killed, more than likely by him. Let's not lie here, because why would you flee and never look back? but we just don't know. So anyways, that's what's going on with that. Hopefully you guys don't get wrapped up in all the conspiracy theories, like him pulling his teeth out and laying him on the ground and then walking off and going to another country. Like that baffled my mind. I was like, there's legitimate people out there that believe that. Yeah. There's some people that believe that this was all just a distraction from our lives in the government, and I'm just like, pretty sure it wasn't, but okay.
Yeah. But what is the government doing right now? Like what?
I don't know. I mean, it's shit. Our gas prices are high, and everything's
It's
high.
obvious
so
that's gonna happen.
I mean, I still was paying attention to what was going on with our gas prices and food prices and all that, whilst figuring out what was happening with Gabby.
We can do multiple things.
We can multitask. I'm pretty sure
we're not babies.
some of you can multitask out there. So
government's like, look over here.
Yeah.
And we're like, ah.
I mean, there are some people that can't multitask, but I can. So
yeah.
Anyways, just don't try not to get sucked into all those conspiracy theories. I like a good conspiracy theory as much as the other person, the best person. Whatever. But yeah. Okay, we're gonna get started. I have talked entirely too long about Brian Laundrie, and that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be talking about the Enfield Poltergeist, which is the basis for the movie The Conjuring 2. It's based off this case. This case has been recorded as one of the most documented hauntings / poltergeist activity cases in England. I believe in the world. I'm not exactly sure, but it was pretty well documented by like media, newspapers, other paranormal investigators. And yes, this does have to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren, but they don't come into this until the end, like the very end, and it's kind of weird. There is so many people that don't believe this case, then there's other people that do. I don't know how I feel. There's a lot of crazy shit that happens, so we're gonna hop into it because it's long. In 1977, the Hodgins. Okay. Family lived in a townhouse in 284 Green Street, Enfield, London. Peggy is the mother. Then we have Margaret, who's 12, Janet, who's 11, Johnny, who's 10, and Billy, who's 7. Peggy worked a lot because she was a single mom. They lived there for a while before all the craziness started happening. So first when they lived there, they moved there because she got a divorce, and they lived there for a long time. And then it was a townhouse. Keep that in mind. So for those of you that don't know, a townhouse, one part, and this sometimes it's upstairs, downstairs, but in London, in this part of the where they were, one side was one townhouse and one side was the other. So it's this huge house, but one side someone lives on this, like someone lives on the right side, the upstairs and downstairs, and someone lives on the left side.
So it's a duplex? Is that what it's called?
I think a duplex is top and bottom.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
But whatever the case is, they basically had someone living right beside them, a wall's distance away. So keep that in mind because they're going to come into this as well. So August 30th, 1977, Janet and Johnny headed off to bed. While sleeping, they started to feel like there was something in the room with them. And their beds started to shake side to side, is what they told their mom. Peggy thought the kids were playing around, and she didn't want to go upstairs at first to check on them. Then she eventually went upstairs because they were constantly screaming and being loud, and so she was like, okay, they're acting up, like, they're being kids. When Peggy got to the room, she noticed that the kids were terrified, and Janet told her what was happening. Peggy didn't believe them, obviously, because the beds weren't shaking, and she was like, go back to sleep, whatever. The next night, about 9:30, Janet woke up to the sound that sounded like a chair being scraped across the floor, and they had a chair in their room. So she starts freaking out, and she notices that her little brother Johnny's asleep. So she goes over there and wakes him up. She's like, hey, do you hear that? What the hell is that sound? To which Johnny told her, yes, I can hear that as well. The chair was sitting in the corner of the room in the dark. Negative. And Peggy, she was downstairs, having a glass of wine or whatever, and she heard the kids upstairs, like, talking to each other, whispering.
Yeah.
And she was thinking, oh, these freaking kids, they got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So she went to check on them, and she turned on the light, but when she did, what she saw was the kids were sitting on the bed talking and not asleep like they were supposed to be. Of course, they told their mom what happened, and yet again, she didn't believe them. She takes the chair out of the room and puts it downstairs. She tells the kids to go back to sleep, but when she turns off the light, she starts to hear the shuffling, scratching sound too. She said it almost sounded like someone was walking across the floor with their slippers on, shuffling.
Oh.
At first, they thought it was the
I hate
chair.
that sound.
So, but when the chair was gone, then they said it sounded like something else. Peggy then realized, like, oh shit, something's going on.
Yeah.
They also were hearing knocks on the walls, like different knocks. They thought maybe it was their neighbors, but they weren't sure. However, the dresser in the room all of a sudden slid across the floor just a little bit into the middle of the room, where the kids were standing. She tries to move the dresser back, like push it back, and almost like someone was on the other side holding it there. She couldn't push it. She tells the kids to get downstairs now, and they all run downstairs, and then they run over to the neighbor's house, which their neighbor was right next door, like the neighbor that they live right by or in the same duplex with or whatever. The neighbor's name was Vic, and he had a family as well, but the wife and the kid, I think he had kids. They're not mentioned, so I'm just going to talk about Vic. Vic was the man next door. So Vic thought that Peggy was crazy, obviously, because she, this woman's coming over in the middle of the night and asking what's going on. She did ask, have y'all been banging on the walls, all this stuff, and he was like, no. He told her he would go to the house to see, what was going on. Maybe somebody was like messing with him. Maybe somebody had broke in. He just wasn't sure. So when Vic got to the house with Peggy, they started walking around, and he heard knocks on every wall he walked by. So every time he would walk over to one wall, like if he'd walk in the living room, there would be knocks on the walls. Walk upstairs, knocks on the walls, kitchen, so on and so forth. So they decided to call the police, which they did. At 1 a.m., September 1st, the police arrived. Peggy tells them that, what's going on, and obviously they think, okay, she's crazy.
Yeah.
This is a haunted house situation, and even if it is haunted,
Well,
I don't know how we're going to help you.
I'm very proud that they called the police, because most people are just like, and then they go to bed.
Yeah. Well,
like, at least she's, like, scared, and she's like, okay, I got to do something.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll get to that. So they think that she, like I said, is crazy or whatever. So they are standing in the living room when they start hearing the knocking on the walls as well. The police start searching the house because they think, okay, maybe it's like a leaky pipe. Maybe it's just the sounds of the house settling or whatever. They obviously found nothing when they got back to the living room. They saw a chair move across the floor on its own. So that at that point they were like, oh okay. and remember in the movie, that's what happened. Yeah. Basically, like the police were like,
actually see it.
All right, well, we can't help you. So they wrote everything down in a report, and there is a report, and they said that there's really nothing else they can do. Like, they can't really help them, but they'll write it down and, have it in their report, which is a good thing, I guess. So they just reported strange noises, and they did talk about the chair in the report, but it says there were strange noises in the house and the chair moved on its own. Yeah. Over the next few days, they would see shadowy figures, toys, Legos would fly across the room. Sometimes the Legos or the toys would hit the kids or the mom in the face, which fuck that. Legos suck, man. Yeah. While trying to sleep, they would be awoken by objects hitting them in the face. Things flying off shelves, just a lot of poltergeist activity. Of course, beds shaking and all that normal stuff that we've heard before. The neighbor Vic, who lives in the same townhouse, he was very supportive, and he did believe that there was something going on, but he wasn't experiencing anything himself, which is kind of odd considering they're in the same building. Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's also, there's been apartments that have been haunted before, and no other person.
Maybe it's just the poltergeist hooking onto the family. That could be it.
So September 4th, Peggy was fed up, and she decided that she was going to go to the media, which some people are kind of like, why why would you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she wasn't a religious woman, and she knew that she couldn't go to the church because they weren't going to help her, because, you know, usually a Catholic church, you have to be pretty devout in order to get help from them. So the media sent a journalist and a photographer out to the house. When they arrived, the first thing they said that they saw was they noticed that the house was like a wreck. There was stuff everywhere. Toys, furniture everywhere, just covers and all this other stuff. And they felt like something was off. Like it was just like a mom
Bad
trying
energy?
to get money. No. A mom just trying to get like money or get publicity or something like that. The photographer and the journalist didn't see anything that day. That night they decided to leave. So they were like, okay, we don't see anything. It's nighttime. You know, bye. We gotta get out of here. You're just crazy. But Peggy said when they left, it started again. Like as right after they left and walked out the door.
Coincidence.
Yeah. So, like it's almost like whatever was in there was waiting for the media to leave. Luckily, the men had not left the premises though, so she runs outside and she's like, oh my god, it's happening again, come back in right now. And when the men come back inside, that was when they saw things flying around the room: knives, spoons, Legos, cars, etc., toys, blankets. All these things were just flying around the room. The photographer had his camera out and tried to take pictures, but whenever he went to take the pictures, he couldn't get the camera to focus, and then he got hit in the head with a Lego. Is what he said. So hard that it actually busted like his eyebrow open.
Damn.
He eventually got a photo, but the photo ended up being nothing. So when he went to develop it, when he went to develop the photos, it was blank. Some of these photos also, they've said when they went to develop them, there was like blackness on them, so they couldn't develop them. Wow. Which is kind of odd, and you'll see why later, because there are some photos out there of this whole situation. But anyways, the next morning Peggy talked to a senior reporter, George Fallis, and he told her maybe she should move out. Peggy told him that she didn't want to because she didn't want to move the kids again, and she wanted to be in a stable home, which it's not stable, obviously. It wasn't the fact that she couldn't afford it. At that point, she said, it's not that I can't afford to move, it's just that I don't want to uproot them again. And I'm sitting there thinking, if they can't sleep,
that's weird.
I'd just get out.
Yeah.
So that was another reason why
really
people were kind of like, that's weird.
Now,
I mean, there have been situations where people haven't been able to move, but it's been because of finances
things.
or something like that.
Which is understandable.
I mean, kind of, but not really, because I'd live on the street. But whatever. George told her that she needed an expert in the house to see what was going on. So he told her to call the Society of Physical Research. She got in touch with Maurice Gross, and September 5th, Maurice arrived to the house. He told them that it seemed like a poltergeist, obviously, and all was quiet for some nights after he got there. But then September 8th came around, and that night was when all these people were in the house. Like the man from the media, Maurice, he was downstairs, and they were trying to just. They were all there kind of, I guess in the movie they kind of do that. Like there's a bunch of different people there. Of course, it's Ed and Lorraine Lauren, but that's not the case.
Okay. So because they don't come into the very end. They don't come
into the very, very end of this whole story. But so, well, no, because I guess in the movie there is some media coverage there at the beginning. We just watched the movie not too long ago. Me and Isaac did. But anywho, so they're all downstairs when they hear a loud crash in Janet's room. A chair had been thrown about 5 feet across the room, and Janet was sitting in the middle of her bed. The photograph caught this on film as well, but the next day, it got lost, like the film was lost or something like that, which is a little odd, but whatever. Maurice was standing in the hallway and saw the bathroom door open and close over and over again. Then he said he felt a cold, cold presence down by his feet, and the air around him started to make him sick. He said Janet seemed to be the center of the activity because anywhere that she went, things got worse. He thought that Janet was either possessed or maybe something had attached itself to her. And at this point, he contacted the paranormal investigator named Guy Playfair. That is a name and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's his real name, but if it is, bro. Guy Playfair.
Guy, you better play fair.
Yeah. So, September 12th, Guy arrives to the house to set up all of his cameras and paranormal activity gadgets and stuff like that. Later that night, they started seeing things fly across the room, like marbles were flying everywhere, and then they noticed that the marbles were, if they would fly like at the wall, and they would like get stuck on the wall. They wouldn't get stuck in the wall, just on the wall, and they wouldn't move. Or if they would fly on the ground,
like a magnet,
anywhere they fell, they would just stick, not roll, just stick. It was really weird.
Yeah.
All the photos they were trying to take were just black masses, like I said earlier, and the cameras were not working very well. However, the cameras would work outside the house over the next couple of nights. So, like, if they go outside and take a picture, it would work out there, but it wouldn't work inside. Which poltergeists do mess with electrical currents and stuff like that. So that part, if it was really a poltergeist, I could definitely believe that that would happen. Over the next couple of nights, they experienced all kinds of, like, paranormal activity things. Peggy and Guy thought maybe that there was a child spirit in the house, which I don't know why they thought that, but whatever. So they just thought maybe, because Janet was the one that was being messed with so bad, so they thought maybe there was just a child spirit in the house that was messing with them, you know, throwing stuff and being crazy. When they were talking about it, though, in the house, they were down in the living room and they were talking about it. Janet was screaming in her room upstairs, and they ran as fast as they could upstairs. When they got there, the dresser was blocking the door. They were able to move it eventually and get her out. Once they got her out, Janet was like, I'm not going back in that room. I don't want to go back in the room. Vic, the neighbor, told Peggy that over the next couple of days, he would be outside in his garden. He would look up at the windows and the curtains would be like moving side to side. And one time he looked up and he saw an old woman with gray hair smiling down at him.
No.
For weeks, there was noises all over the house, objects being thrown around still everywhere constantly. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever seen The Poltergeist, the movie The Poltergeist, then you know, like, that's... And there have really been people that, and this is one of them, if you believe this story, that have poltergeist, and that's what they do. They'll flicker lights, or they'll move objects, or something like that. And
so what? I'm curious because I don't really know what is the difference. There's like a lot of ghosts in, like a poltergeist. What is it? Is it just a lot of ghosts in a area, or
so a poltergeist is? I do know that they attach themselves to usually children that are hitting puberty or something like that. So the actual, like, definition of a poltergeist is a type of ghost or spirit that is responsible for physical disturbances such as loud noises, objects being moved around or destroyed. Most claims about this are like, also someone can be pinched, bit, hidden, or tripped. So it's not necessarily multiple spirits, it's just any type of spirit that messes with objects, or because sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes people just hear things, or they see things, like, or
strong.
Yeah,
a strong energy. Has a very strong energy.
Yeah, because like in the
movie Poltergeist,
the Perrin family, the first Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really have any of that. They didn't have things like that going on. They just had
messing with people.
They would get drug somebody would be drug around, or they would see shadows or something like that. So there's just different levels, I guess. Even when they would get rid of the objects, like one time they took Janet's room and they completely got everything out of there, because a lot of the activity was happening in her room. Yes, it would happen all over the house, but mainly in her room or upstairs close to her room. Mm-hmm. So, which made a lot of people also think that she was doing all this. I digress. So they took...
what? That makes sense.
So they took all the objects out of her room.
Yeah.
And nothing was in there. But they said that they started hearing a shaking going on, a vibrating in her room. And there was a fireplace, a steel fireplace that was bolted to the wall. And when they went up there, the fireplace was moved from the wall. So obviously, Guy at this point was like, okay, a child can't do that. The mom's not going up there and doing that. Something's going on. He went to the community of fellow paranormal investigators, and he told them everything that was going on. And they told him, of course, they didn't believe him. They thought that it was just the family doing it, or the kids doing it, or whatever. I don't know, for whatever reason. Something to note also, which I just said this. Never mind. I said that about the poltergeist. That they tend to latch on to kids that are going through puberty, which is really weird to me. It sucks, because my son's about that age.
Why do they do that? That makes no sense.
I don't know. They also latch on to negative energy, which makes sense in this case because she had just gotten a divorce. So there was a lot of negative energy when they moved into the house with the mom and just all that. So they decided to call in a medium. They called in Anne and George. These were the mediums, and they came. So the mediums were set to come the next day to the house. Well, that night, Janet started having a nightmare, and I think they were all down in the living room. She started having a nightmare, and she was screaming in her sleep or whatever, and they were trying to wake her up, and they couldn't wake her. They finally woke her up, and when they did, she was super pale, and she was scared to death. She didn't say what happened or nothing like that. But the next day, the mediums got there. Janet was hiding from them. It was almost like she couldn't be near them. Anytime they would come around to a room, she would just leave and go to the next room or whatever. Anne and George, they decided they were going to try to pray and then take a moment to try to contact whatever was in the house. Moments later, after they started praying, Anne started talking in another strange voice. George decided to tell the spirit speaking through Anne to leave the house, and it wasn't allowed there. It wasn't working, though, because Anne started spitting at George and said, I'm not leaving, over and over again. After this, when Anne got, back to her normal self and got her shit together, George, she told George that she believed there were multiple dark spirits in the house, and there was also a dark spirit that had lived there previously that practiced black magic in the house. This is all what they said, but there wasn't really anything they told Peggy. So they told Peggy when they got ready to leave. Peggy was like, okay, what do I do? We need to cleanse this house. What do we need to do?
Yeah.
They were like, oh, just stay positive and be calm and everything will be okay.
That's like somebody going up to somebody that says they have depression and be like, oh, just be happy.
Yeah, you're fine. Just go be happy. It's okay.
You're fine. Just be happy.
So yeah, really odd. Okay. I don't know. So nothing really came from those mediums. I'm not saying that they weren't legit mediums, but it was just a little weird. They didn't help them out any more than that. So, whatever. By the end of October, they are still living in this house for some reason, which I have no clue why. I would have moved a long time before now. So, it seemed that this spirit or these entities or whatever started messing with both the girls, Jan and Margaret. Jan was not doing well in school. Well, no shit, because she's, can't sleep. She's being haunted, yeah. Her behavior also started to get really bad in school as well, to the point where the principals and the teacher wanted to talk to Peggy. So Peggy goes to the school and she tells them what's going on, which you would think they would be like, oh, okay, you're crazy. But they didn't. They actually were like, just move, get out of the house. Peggy told them the reason that she didn't want to move this time was because they had no other option and no other place to go, and they couldn't afford it. So now she's saying that they can't afford it. which maybe that could have been true the whole time or whatever. We don't know.
Maybe she just didn't want to tell people that they could.
At first. They did, however, go on a vacation. They went away for a little bit, which was a good idea, I guess. But when they got back from their vacation, things got a lot worse. It's almost like the ghosts or the spirits, whatever, were pissed off because they left. Mm-hmm. Way more activity for all hours of the day. Sheets, like bed sheets, would be ripped into shreds off the bed and then like ripped in the air, and fallen to the ground, like,
Yeah. Wow.
Some Freddy Krueger shit.
Yeah.
Blankets, etc. Just all the kinds of stuff. There were some paranormal people in the community that Guy was in, the paranormal investigator that was there. Mm-hmm. His community of people did come to the house, but every time they would come, they wouldn't see anything. So at this point, the only people that have seen things are the neighbor, the family, Maurice, who is the guy, the journalist guy, and then Guy Playfair, who was the paranormal investigator. Of course, you do have the police that made the report, but they don't ever come back. And you have media coverage, but they don't ever really see anything substantial. Like, there's no actual evidential proof, I guess you could say. Like, tangible, During the months of November, Janet started to become more and more angry. She would also have unusual strength and would run into the walls and slam her head into the wall and then just be fine. She started cursing a lot and speaking in other low-toned voices. She also told her mom someone was trying to suffocate her in her sleep. And then one time she said there was an old man downstairs that she saw. Janet also started to attack different people as well. They even contacted a doctor one night because she was like having a fit upstairs. Mm-hmm. And the doctor came and he gave her a shot of Valium. He was like, okay, this is going to knock her out. She's going to get some good rest. Why the doctor didn't say, like, if you didn't think it was real, then the doctor should have said she needs to be evaluated, like, tomorrow. You need to bring her into the psychiatric ward, or we need to like, evaluate her.
And then also, God, this mother is pissing me off. She needs to, like, be like, hey, it's time to move. Like, it's time to go.
Exactly. They all went back downstairs after he gave her the shot of Valium. Then they heard her screaming really loudly upstairs. They go run back upstairs, and Janet is... all her covers have been ripped off her bed, and she is on a dresser, on her knees, kind of, screaming, but still asleep. Like, she's hunched over on her knees. Wow. There's a picture of it. The picture is it's a little odd. Like, I mean, it does look like she's, asleep, but I don't know. It could be fake, I guess. I was trying to find the picture for you, but I don't know. Anyways, it could be fake. You guys can look it up if you want to. There's you've seen these pictures where she's flying across the
But it looks
room.
like she's jumping.
Yeah.
And they just do it midair.
It does. And that's another thing that we'll talk about here in just a second, as a matter of fact. So, anyways, they did get someone to hypnotize Janet, and because they were like, okay, if she is faking it, then she needs to be hypnotized to see if she's really faking it or not. And they asked her, what's going on, and she said that someone with cold hands would drag her out of bed every night and try to kill her. Things started happening to Margaret after this. Maurice decided to try and talk to the spirits through Janet, and asked if anyone was here, could they make themselves known. Then, just like in the movie, Janet starts speaking in a man's voice, and she says that she's Joe Watts, who was an old man that used to live there. Guy actually asked Joe if he would go, like if he would leave, and Janet just said, she screamed, "Fuck off." They even did the water thing where she put the water in her mouth, just like in the movie. But in this case, they actually taped her mouth shut And they said that she was still having that voice. That voice was still coming through somehow. Like this raspy voice.
Yeah.
Janet would also talk for hours. And after she would talk, she would go back to talking completely normal. Which some people are like, well, she could talk like that. You know, she can make her voice sound like that. Which is true. But going back to a completely normal voice after that. And not having any sort of soreness or like raspiness.
And then also taping the voice up. Like,
yeah.
Like, what? Come on, guys.
It just seems a little believable that she, especially if she wasn't like in pain after she did this for hours. I mean, this is the little girl we're talking about. This is not like a professional vocalist or something that can like change their voice. Janet also had another voice come out from her, and they recorded this one, and this is the Bill Wilkinson's voice. So, just like in the movie where he says all that stuff, I'm Bill Wilkinson's, I died in that chair over there. Do you remember that part of the movie? I remember that. That is an actual recording. You can look it up on YouTube, on the internet, wherever, and you can find it. And the one thing that is odd about it, though, and even the investigators were saying the one thing that was weird was that this spirit, like, was kind of like cracking jokes, and he was being funny, and he was also... Some of the things he would say sounded really childish. Like, they asked him, why do you mess with Janet in her bedroom? And he said, because I was sleeping there. And it's just like, what? Like, what? Yeah. What? That doesn't make any sense. So, there was and also, another thing that's really odd, and a lot of people, the reason why they don't believe this case is because we've never had a voice recording of something paranormal coming through like that. This is the first time that's ever happened, which there can always be first, but we've never had that happen since. Like with people that are possessed or anything like that, if they try to talk to the other entity, they're never able to do that as clear as this is. You know, like have a full-blown conversation with a spirit. That's, you know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of people just, they don't believe it. And I still don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially with the pictures that I've seen with them, like, on the bed. It really does look like they jumped. They're just jumping. Yeah. Like, it literally looks like that.
There's also pictures that you guys can look up where it looks like she is being... She said that she was being thrown across the room, but it really does look like she just jumped out of bed and, like, jumped across. I don't know. There was a delivery man that like delivered bread, and there was a woman across the street that said that they both said that they saw Janet floating in midair in her window on her back. Yeah, so that was something. Some people think that Maurice and Guy were setting all this up and recording all this and like stirring up all this craziness so that way they could, you know, be make famous or whatever. Yeah. Like telling her what to say, feeding her all these lines and stuff like that. There are photos of this case, like I said, and you can go look at those. In the summer of 1978, Janet begged her mother, please let's move out. I want to leave. I want to get out. But she didn't. No. Peggy was like, no, we're not leaving. So the torment that this child was going through happened for 9 months.
Damn.
And it got so much media coverage and so much newspaper coverage that it warranted Ed and Lorraine Warren to decide to check out this place because they were like, hey, some shit's going down, we need to go check this out in England. After interviewing Janet, Ed and Lorraine did believe her, and they did believe that there was something in the house, but they thought it was like a demonic spirit. They didn't believe that it was like, you know, just a regular spirit. They thought it was something demonic. They thought that maybe she was not fully possessed, but she was close to being there, you know. Those are three stages of possession, and they believe she was in the second stage. So they called a priest to come cleanse the house, and a few weeks later, that was it. It was done.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The priest came, the priest cleansed the house, and that was it. It was done.
And then nothing happened?
Nothing happened. That's it.
That's weird. No.
Isn't it though?
That's weird.
Could it have been that maybe they had a demonic spirit and they needed it cleansed in the first place, and these fucking media people and this paranormal guy were like, nah, we'll just keep fucking with it, instead of cleansing the house like it should have been done at the beginning.
But being cleansed like that so easily, like usually if it's something, and also it's doing so much that it has to be very strong.
Exactly, yeah.
So all we have to do is throw some holy water around and be like, da-da-da-da-da-da, and it'll go away. Alright, it's gone. And it's like, damn, okay, well, I can do all that shit. But you know what? That was enough. I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't know.
So, Janet was she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital, because they wanted to run some tests. Mm-hmm. So you would think, okay, we're fixing to find out that maybe she had a little bit of a psychosis or something like that. But no, she didn't. She was completely normal. She was there for 2 months. They ran tests on her for 2 months and kept her in that psychiatric ward, and she was completely normal. Years later, Janet and Margaret finally admitted that they had played with a Ouija board right before all this activity started happening. Which in the movie, she does have like a little makeshift Ouija board that she made. Yeah. Which, obviously, guys, we're not saying that it's just the Ouija board. It's just the whole concept. You could get a fucking piece of paper and write all that shit out and start contacting the dead, and it's gonna fuck your life up.
Them. You can light a candle and be like, hey guys,
it's gonna,
that's enough, because they're like, oh, you want me? Like,
because if you think about it, before the Ouija board came out back in the 1800s, I mean, there had been seances and stuff like that going on all the time, so you can contact a spirit. You don't have to have a Ouija board to do it, but it definitely doesn't help. And the fact that they sell it as a kid's toy is beyond me. But whatever.
They still do that.
They still do that. I've seen them at Target in the kids' toy section.
Like,
and I'm just like, what the fuck? This is the funnest board game. This one will last all year. This board game will last you a lifetime. You may have to move out of your house. You may get tormented, but it'll be fun.
You think they'd have a lot of lawsuits, and they would just like...
Yeah. Eventually, obviously, all the kids get older. They move out. Peggy, though, stays there till her dying days in 2003. That's when she passes away in the house. After this, another mother, who's a single mom of 4, moves into the house. She didn't know anything about the story she didn't know about the house's history. And then she said that they kind of started experiencing paranormal stuff. Like, her kids said they started experiencing stuff, and they would see like an old man sometimes, like walking down the hallway. So then she kind of done some research 2 weeks into living there. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. She found out what happened in the house. She listened to her kids and what they said, and she was like, all right, fuck this shit, we're gone. 2 weeks.
Thank you.
She moved out.
Smart woman. She was like, no, I'm good.
She's like, no, I don't, I'm done.
That'd be me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, let's leave. Come on.
The house is being lived in today by a family that wants to remain anonymous. You can go by the house, but you can't, like, go in the house, obviously. Yeah. But you can go by the house. Keep in mind, it's in England, so if you don't live there, you can't go by there. There's a lot of people that have tried to debunk this case, and a lot of people kind of have debunked it with different theories and things like that. Yeah. But Janet still sticks by today, like to this day. She's like, I don't care if you can call me crazy if you want to. I don't really care. I know what happened to me, and I know what happened was real. So, and keep in mind, these people are not rich. They're not rich from this. No one got rich from this. You know, the story is pretty close to the movie. I mean, it's not completely like in the movie. They bring in Valak, you know, the nun demon. Yeah. And I've even watched documentaries of the guy that does the whole Conjuring universe. That Asian guy. What's his name? He also did Saw. Anyways, he's the director. And he said, we do have to put other elements into these movies to make them a little bit more, you know, Hollywood scary. Yeah. But a lot of times we try to stay true to the story. And they really did in this one. But obviously the crooked man's not in there. Yeah. And, you know, all that. But it's still pretty scary. And I would have not lived in that house for long. That's for sure.
I don't know if I believe it.
So yeah, that is the Enfield Poltergeist.
But that is there is a lot of people that say they saw something.
Mm-hmm. And that's not the only. There's also a Prime Video. I think it's a movie that they made as well, an A&E movie or something like that. So you can watch that one as well. And then, of course, The Conjuring 2, you can always watch that. This is the picture of her up on... She's bent over. See how she's bent over? But she kind of looks like she's supporting herself with that arm.
Yeah, it does look like that.
And she's sitting on it. It's not like she's really... I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say that it didn't happen to her, because Lord knows if anything like that ever happened to me. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be like her. I'd be like, I don't give a shit if you believe me or not. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's your problem, not mine. Also, you know, there's another... Have you ever heard of the Dybbuk box? So basically what that is it's a Jewish thing, but they like anything can be a Dybbuk box, but basically it's a spirit that has attached itself to this item, and it's like a very evil demonic spirit.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do the case on the Dybbuk box that is Dybbuk, that's how you say that is in Las Vegas. Actually, Post Malone went and saw it. It's in like this museum, and he was like scared because supposedly there's like a demon in the box, basically, that's like a demon so bad that it caused like World War II and all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty crazy case. But while I was researching the case, I just started getting real weird vibes. Like, I just got really freaked out and creeped out by everything, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it was really weird.
Yeah, when you started saying that, my stomach started hurting.
Yeah, it's really, really weird.
Maybe they opened it in 2020. That's what it was.
Yeah, probably. I just started feeling really weird, so I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But anyways, you guys should research that, because we might do it one day. I don't know. But if you want to research that, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, Post Malone like went to the museum, and I don't remember what was happening, but anyways, he said he just got really a sick feeling, and he was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed today's spooky episode, and happy Halloween, because by the time this is up, it will be Halloween time.
Yep. And
hopefully this will get you in the mood for Halloween. Some good old spooky poltergeist activities, some diamonds, stuff like that. All right, guys. We hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next time. Hopefully we'll be on camera. I don't know what's going to happen.
We're just going to roll the dice.
Just flip a coin. Check it out. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.